It's all about challenging the norm for me in terms of where curiosity comes from. And the only way to really make a difference is, as the late Nelson Mandela once said, is I suppose you never truly really understand or aware of what being poor is and what poverty really looks like. As a human race, we've got to be incredibly mindful of. I dream for a throw. I had one as a child, but I'm follically challenged now.
So am I, yeah.
I call myself Aaron Dynamic. Sorry, such a dad joke.
Curious Conversations.
Welcome to Curious Conversations, where we talk about all things creativity, curiosity and innovation. So today we're joined by somebody who's been a leader in disruptive education. He's got 25 years in digital education and has been responsible for the creation of award-winning, disruptive, innovative and industry-leading apprenticeship and education programs. Through his experience in sport, education, business and digital, home to give some of the most disadvantaged people across Greater Manchester the perfect platform in life for them to succeed. So welcome to Curious Conversations, Aaron Saxton, aka Sax.
Good morning, Julian. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you today and have this wonderful, hopefully incredibly curious conversation.
Let's hope so. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you have a passion for creativity, curiosity and innovation?
Yeah, so my name's Aaron Saxton, Sax for short, and I suppose my curiosity, my authentic sort of energy for this space comes from my own journey. I grew up in Human Moss Side, just around the corner from the studios here, and when you grow up in an area of poverty where you're told you can't and won't succeed, and that's a rhetoric and narrative you hear a lot, you become quite aware of actually that we as a community, we deserve more. People who look like me should have the opportunity. So a lot of it comes from my own journey, and the only way to really make a difference is, as the late Nelson Mandela once said, is the most powerful weapon in this world is education. So I took it upon myself to get into schools and become a leader in education to really flip the model, really take it to the heart of our most deprived communities and change lives. And I love running. We talked a lot about Park Run this morning. Absolutely love running. I think between sport and digital, I think there are two really interesting domains that when you bring them together, they can really innovate and evolve and build real energy and character in people as they grow and develop.
Yeah. So what, I suppose, one question, I suppose, that's on that. So what made you go, I want to move out of, do that social mobility stuff, which we will touch on later. What made you go, this isn't the life for me, I want to move into education, I want to run more, etc., etc. What was that? Was there a trigger that did it, or?
Yes, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I think we talk a lot about the spark, don't we? We talk about in our own children and the future generations. And a single parent family in Hume and Moss Side. And I suppose you never truly really understand or aware of what being poor is and what poverty really looks like until you may be exposed to different environments. And I was incredibly fortunate. I went to a school in Sale.
Yeah.
There was an initiative they put on where they were looking to enable social mobility and expose young people to different forms of enhanced education, so to speak. And when I went to a school in Sale, I think I was exposed to a new environment of individuals who had more pocket money to spend on sweets and chocolate and the latest branded Nike trainers, whatever that might be. And my eyes were open to go, actually, not only some of these individuals now new positive role models, there are new pathways, new opportunities. And I'm so proud of my parents, both working class parents and obsessed with morals, values, principles to support, help, care, and that happiness comes through experiences and being kind. And when you sort of bring all of that lovely mix together as an individual, I saw it as a personal mission instilled by my family and my friends and my education to get back into the mix of things in my communities and go and revolutionise lives.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
And then the sport is just, I'm
love it.
well, I'm a Man United fan, and back in the 90s, and I grew up in the golden era of athletics. You know,
I need to apologise about Man United for this season, so they haven't been done too well, have
I
they?
know. I cry a bit here, cry in tears, but you know, that golden era of athletics, don't mind me mentioning. You know, with sorry for the young ones in the podcast, but your Linford Christies, Colin Jacksons. You know, there were such inspirational people from black and minority ethnic backgrounds from poverty who went to success and won at the Olympic Games. So they became other vehicles of energy and momentum for me.
Yeah. Well, like I think you said, done over 250 park runs now, so
290.
290.
You missed out a few there. Nearly 290, getting close to about 300.
That's right. Yeah. Need to. If Linford Chris is ever listening, you can still thank him as well.
And your cousin, she's done.
Yes, she's done 200. She's done over 250. So she's done the A to Z as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a passion for hers as well. So. It's not a passion for loads of people doing park runs. So accessible as a thing, and it's not a long distance. It's achievable for a lot of people. So
such a great community. I must follow your cousin. I'll look her up on Strava after today's podcast.
Okay, I'll make sure I tell you. Yeah, good stuff. So at the start of every podcast, we ask you to do a fun, hands-on activity with this Lego we've got on the table here. So if you take some of the Lego and then the next few minutes, create something that represents you and your passion for creativity, curiosity, and innovation. So there you go.
Okay, Julian really put me on the spot here.
I know, sorry.
If my son watches this, he's probably going to be so disappointed because he's such a Lego legend.
Yeah.
Even just this morning, he was building robots and mechanoids and all sorts of flying devices.
It's one of the things that I suppose, as adults, we don't really play with, unless you've, I suppose, got kids and you play along with them. You don't really have time to play with Lego. And we were talking about earlier, weren't we, about the Lego Series Play stuff that you'd done at UA 92. What are you building at the most? You've got some rainbow bricks there?
Yeah, well, the rainbow's probably just not really that intentional, but it's I'm building a platform to success there. And I like this dude here. He's got a cool little afro.
He has, yeah.
I dream for a fro. I had one as a child, but I'm follically challenged now.
So am I, yeah.
I call myself Aaron Dynamic. Sorry, such a dad joke, but I'm allowed. So a platform to success there.
Very good.
I should maybe create a bridge for everybody to succeed, maybe. So it looks like a walk the plank, doesn't it?
Right, yeah.
Like something like Pirates of the Caribbean. Captain Jack Sparrow there, but I don't know where we're going to go here. And then I start to rebuild. Let's have a look over here. Start to build another platform over here. My son will be so disappointed, Julian.
Oh, you have to come back and do it. Well, I can't tell you about it. You'll come back with a full model of all sorts of things.
I'll probably cheat. What I'll do is I'll pre-build one, Blue Peter style, and
here's one I created earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So bridge to success, or bridging for others there. It's not the best, but hey ho. But you are right. I mean, I gaming is, you could argue, things like Minecraft and so on have changed the whole idea, haven't they? Of there you go, and a bridge to success there. Look at that.
Perfect.
Ooh, look at that. Whoa. Look at that. Where's the camera? Look at that there.
So
there you go.
One of the things that was being picked up actually is that we have people who listen and also people who watch. And there's been a couple of podcasts where I haven't described, or guest hasn't described what they've done. So effectively, for the listeners out there, so we've got effectively 2 columns, about 6 bricks each, with a bridge between the two, and then a little character who's got an afro, which Aaron wants to take away with him at the end.
Yes, please.
Replicate, and the bridge between the two of them. So bridge to success. Very good.
Yeah.
So if there's anything, I suppose, as we go through it and you go, oh, do you want to add something else to it? Then feel free. There's plenty of Lego to do that. So. Well,
thank you for that. I mean, it got my Lego mojo going again.
Yeah. It's an interesting way. We talked about Lego Series Play. We've had a Lego Series Play facilitator on the podcast as well.
Oh wow!
And how to use Lego as a way of communicate. And I think we spoke earlier. It's quite a good way of getting other people involved in the conversation. Whereas you get some people get very dominant around the conversation in a group environment, but actually using Lego, you can either be group orientated, or you can be yourself orientated, but still share.
It's a great way of expressing, isn't it?
It is,
and it's something that I think we're lacking in the modern world now. The being able to translate things into an expressive physical format. Things are so digital now and so frivolous.
Yeah.
Somebody who champions digital as well. Whoops.
Yeah. I have digital Lego, don't worry. So.
Okay, thank you. Minecraft.
So, as this podcast called Curious Conversations, I normally start with a question on curiosity. So, how can nurturing curiosity act as a catalyst for positive disruption?
Well, we spoke loads about that, and I think you're an incredibly curious individual yourself, Julian. I think, and I think it's all about challenging the norm for me in terms of where curiosity comes from. I think evolution has come through curiosity. That's how we are where we are here today with technology, with our lives, where we travel, fly, eat. We challenge the norm and we experiment and we're curious. And when you think about breaking down barriers, it's I've got some notes here. Hope you don't mind me reading a few notes, but like we always encourage our children and learners to go why, what if, when, and if you've got a young child at the age of 5, you know what that's like.
Yeah.
Why?
You have to do that.
And it creates positive disruption. But when it's channeled into solving real problems, especially when you're looking at the underrepresented, it creates a platform of change. And thinking about my Lego model, it's about a platform of change. And only when you go, and we spoke this morning that, and I've just highlighted a few points in the podcast, that when I was growing up, it's people like me were always you shouldn't or you couldn't, and then that's a point of challenge. Why should people who look at a particular, who come from a particular background or come from a postcode, why shouldn't they succeed? I was reading something incredibly bizarre. I've seen some of these stats before, but I think 7% of schools in the UK are private, and I think 65% of judges come from 7% of schools, and that disparity is right across many of our leading professions. We need to flip the model and ask the question why. Yeah. And then it's how. Yeah. And people aren't comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. We talked about part run, and I know I joke about, I'm not saying it's not about being competitive or winning, but I know you run your cousin, it's waking up every week and putting your body through a very uncomfortable motion of events. Yeah. Being nervous on the start line, knowing that you've got to run as hard as you can, feeling really tired, pushing your heart to its limits. We don't like feeling uncomfortable, but we need to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Yeah. And for me, that all leads into that curiosity, asking those really horrible, tough, challenging questions of why and how.
An easy question to. It's a very short question, but like you said, the why question is one people don't. And there's a thing about 5 whys as well. To get to the heart of the problem, it's why, and then why, and why, and why, and why, and then ultimately you get to the point of why people are resistant to that change or resistant to. Because I suppose normally, if you take the people like judges and politicians and stuff, it's because that's the way it's always been. Yeah. And like I said, saying why, well, that's because it is, and then why, and keep going. You'll probably get to actually the heart of it's a societal issue. And I think as people, I suppose one we found internally where we've got the more future professional is changing behaviours and is changing the way we as leaders act as well. So me showing my tattoos and stuff, if you go back 5 years ago, 10 years ago in the workplace, that was a problem. No, can't do that. But I now feel empowered to be myself because I've said, well, why can't I? And what's going to happen? And also, what's the consequence of nothing? The consequence is something that I might probably made up. The consequence is nothing really.
It's amazing. And you know what, Julian, I love what you've just described there because it's inclusivity. And you mentioned 2 things for me, behaviours as well. even the lovely lady who's filming this today, Zoe, I remembered her from my previous podcast because of her tattoos.
Yeah.
It actually creates curious conversation.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And just because somebody has some artwork on their body, does that make them any better or worse than anybody else?
Yeah.
And actually, how embarrassing is it in this country that you couldn't get some job roles if you had a tattoo? You couldn't have been a teacher. You couldn't have been an air hostess. And we sit here and you look back and you think that's an issue in society.
Yeah.
And some of those very traditional norms are locked in. I love tradition, but I don't like tradition when it prevents innovation.
Yeah.
And evolution.
It's an interesting one, and I think I think things are moving on, and as younger people come through and become the leaders of tomorrow, I think that attitude will hopefully change. Yes. But so we won't be around to see it, but hopefully it will.
Hopefully we'll be here long enough, Julian.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah, we're here long enough just to see it. That's right. Good point. So I suppose one of the things that would be interesting, I suppose, particularly around the young people. So there's questions I've got is around, are young people redefining creativity and innovation in today's world? And if they are, what can we learn from their approach to curiosity, risk-taking and learning from failure? And we did talk about failure this morning, about how you, particularly around some of your students who are successful as they go through their courses. So be interested to get your take on that from what you see from reflect on the young people we've got.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke, didn't we, about, I don't know, I think, I don't know, there are phases of evolution now, I find, as we grow.
Yeah.
And we've always had phases of, from baby to toddler to, young man or woman, to, a teenager, young adult, grandparents.
Yeah.
We phase through life, and the way we innovate and our curiosity changes. But you touched on a word there around failure. And we joked, didn't we, about our young children and, the only way to walk is, it's such a cliche, you fall over, you stand up, you fall over, you stand up. And we as parents, we would watch our children make mistakes, learn from them and grow and embrace failure and recognize that as a natural way to grow and learn.
Yeah.
My worry is in lots of our young people today, are they as willing to embrace failure as we did back when we were younger?
Yeah.
And I think the answer to that is no. I think there's such an expectation of achievement in modern society, and I think that stifles and suffocates creativity.
Yeah.
Again, I know you just look at stats around. I can't remember the exact figures, unfortunately, but there was a study done on entrepreneurs and running businesses.
Yeah. And
the UK has the lowest growth of entrepreneurs, apparently, compared to many of the other leading global states and countries. And in the UK, it's a really bizarre conversation on Radio 4, but they were saying that here in the UK, if you talk about running your own business, people go, ooh, that's risky.
Yeah.
Oh, God, how are you going to afford to pay your mortgage? Or, what if it fails? Whereas you go to other countries like America, whereas like, wow, you are a CEO and founder of a business. How can I help you? That's exciting. Let me help you.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of things I've touched on there. And I think certainly in British society, there's something around curiosity and creativity. And I think that's certainly more of a global issue with young people. And I think, the irony is I'm here to talk about digital, and has digital hindered creativity or enhanced it? And we'll talk more about that through this conversation. I'd say in many ways, it's enhanced our ability to communicate. The introduction of AI, which we'll talk about, how we can be more productive and be, and be more creative in some aspects. But where do we lose the human touch?
It's an interesting one. We'll ask a question around that. But effectively, we've seen there's different perspectives. So one of the podcasts we've got somebody who is a sustainable fashion.
Oh wow!
And around how, and there's something that about writing, people who've written books, and is AI taking away that ability to write your own book, and is it being copied and replicated, and actually is it being used for bad instead of actual good? There's some very different perspectives around the use of AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, etc., and whether it is how it can either enhance what you do or not. So, and I suppose it was a nice segue. Thank you as well, by the way. So I suppose, and this is particularly around your role as a leader and educator in digital, and obviously you are seeing what the future generations are doing. So, do you think AI is helping reshape how they approach work, innovation, creativity, or is it they're using it to replace what their human touch is?
Yeah, great question. It's quite funny. I'm renowned for my Schwarzenegger and Skynet and Terminator references and jokes. Like get the chopper, I'm over here, come on, and the famous Terminator. Come with me if you want to live. And we joke about the Terminator and Arnold Schwarzenegger films or whatever you might say, but there's this fear and idea of the AI taking over, and you made a really interesting point before, Julian, around the moral compass and us retaining an element of control around AI. So so for me, starting there's a critical part where, as a human race, we've got to be incredibly mindful of when we introduce new forms of technology, how we take ownership of the moral, the governance, the how we protect our young people, how we secure, we lock down, and like the internet, we just let that take over.
Yeah.
And then we're now in this scenario where we're having to refine and you think about social media and young people. Look at what we did, how damaging that is.
Yeah.
And now we're only just starting to understand and lock that down. But we're in a really prime position here to go, actually, what is AI doing, and how do we create this morality, this moral compass around it, where it's doing the right things for the right people and ensuring it's enabling progress and not damaging human beings. And so there's all of that for me. And I think there are some of the big leaders out there. You talked about ChatGPT, Copilot, there's Gemini, all these big companies should be working with governments and communities and education institutions to really get that right. And then you talk about is it enhancing the human race, and just like the internet, of course it is.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush here. It's one of my really good friends who's a leader in a business in Manchester. He talks about AI being a superpower. It's made him superhuman.
Yeah.
And when using the right way. I'm an educator by trade. I hope sorry to geek out here, but write code, to deploy technology in the cloud or whatever that might be, without going too geeky. And do I need to write code in the same way?
Yeah.
No, I don't. And there might be people listening to this podcast who'd be outraged by the idea that I'm using AI to write code, but as long as I teach the principles of what coding is and functions, loops, Boolean, if, else, it's almost irrelevant in some ways, and the variables and values within that. As long as I teach the principles and many of my young people can decode and work with that, why not use ChatGPT or large language model to help them write code, which would normally take weeks, months or years, can now take minutes or days to create a world-leading application. Sure, that's productivity when done in the right way, right across solving some of the world's biggest problems in finance, in health, finding the latest cure. It has so many positive applications to solve world problems. How do we look at poverty in a different way, capture that data and use machine learning to understand how we can implement the new most effective models, which can be done in seconds now rather than years or months. So
isn't it? I suppose it comes back to that why not? And I listened to a podcast a while ago, and it was I think it's from somebody from Gartner who's a technology lead, and he his children were doing some maths homework, and he thought he'd asked them what's 17 add. I think they were probably 8, 9, 10, 8 years old. And he asked them, like, what's 17 add 35? And instead of going away and doing a calculator or doing they went and asked Alexa. And he was, at first he was shocked that actually they went, but actually it showed that actually why they've got a different way of using technology than what we think is the norm. The norm for us in going to school is like writing it down.
Or a calculator.
Or a calculator.
Remember scientific calculator in the 90s?
That's right. As long as there was solar panels as well. So as long as you could get some stuff in it. But why not use technology? And I suppose it allowed him to then go back and go, actually, but yeah, why do I think it's strange that they're going off and asking and Alexa what they think I should stop saying it, otherwise it'll stop picking up people. Why not use technology for that? And actually in the future, are you going to have to know mental arithmetic and how to use a calculator? And his little kids in 10, 15 years time, then probably not. So it's an interesting, it was an interesting reflection, and actually something sort of gets you a bit curious actually as to, how to use technology for good. But again, it's a thing from government downwards, isn't it? You need, and it's a global thing that you need those big technology providers to go, these are the rules we're playing by.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, you are right, and I think you make a really good point there. We talk about governance and control, and it's not control that hampers innovation, creativity, but it's about keeping people, and for me, I keep coming back to young people safe in this new modern world. And I think you touched on a really important point that, will we need particular types of skills as we evolve into a new modern world? And, I'm still a big believer, actually, Julian, that actually the ability to write, the ability to do the principles, mental arithmetic, and still to read, they're all actual really critical things in evolution. And sorry to sound all sort of a bit doomsday here, but what if and when technology breaks and fails and goes wrong? Actually, we need to be aware that we need other mechanisms to survive and thrive in society beyond technology. For me, so ethical technology is critical. What was my other point? So it's ethical, empathetic in technology with equity in mind.
Yeah, nice. So I think that point of what happens when or what happens if. So we had all the data center failure in Spain. I think there was stuff when Heathrow failed as well.
Substations, these.
And obviously we're getting large climatic events where actually you'll get power outages, you get overheating, etc., and there will be, touch wood, it won't be catastrophic. But I suppose what we saw with COVID, wasn't it? It's big events which change society. So, having those core abilities I suppose you're right, is to make sure you do have them, because actually when you go to the shops, you do need to. They ask you how much money it is. You got to calculate.
Yeah. Thank you. So, and you made that, was it in Spain and Portugal, wasn't it? The big outage, and they went back, had to go back to cash.
Yeah.
Go, what's money? What euros? What's in these for a while?
Yeah.
So I think it's just being mindful of that as we step through the phases of evolution, that we should never get some of the principles and traditions of life. But again, these traditions can suffocate and hamper the opportunity to grow.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. So I'll always finish with a question around the built environment. So, and one of the reasons why we created Curious Conversation is to get inspiration from diverse perspectives and experiences outside of the construction industry. So basically, based on what you see and encounter, and if you had a crystal ball, first you'd probably win the lottery, but we'll part of that for the time being. So what do you think the future of built environment will either look like, or how we'll interact with it?
Well, being a tech geek,
I thought this would be a techie one.
Yeah, I think what I love. You talked about that word Alexa. And having these IoT interactive homes. I think these will become more and more intuitive.
Yeah.
As you walk into the home, where it'll be able to adapt the color of your home. The mood of your house, it'll detect your emotion.
Yeah.
So the way houses will be constructed and built with that whole idea of IoT, Internet of Things.
Yeah.
and how that your environment may evolve. You know, your front room flips itself around and the chairs and desks are move, the way the rooms evolve. And, you know, you talked about the climate as well. And, you know, it's a very hot week this week, in particular, one of the hottest on record, so they say. And how do you heat and keep and cool a house in the right way? And I think technology will be a critical part of that, as well as the materials that feed into that. Materials that are sustainable and have a minimal impact on the carbon footprint of this world. So I see all of that as being critical parts of this built environment. I don't know if that answered some of your questions.
It does. So I suppose following up on that. So where, obviously, you see an Internet of technology quite a lot. So how far away is an Internet of Things in a house where actually it reacts to you? It says you're in a bad mood today, so I'm going to calm everything down, or you're in a happy mood, so I'm going to bring everything up. Is that foreseeable? It's literally around the corner, or is it that step probably too far away from what we can see?
I think it's here already.
Okay.
I would argue that the capability to do that, whether it's Alexa or other smart devices, watches you wear. I mean, I don't know how aware you maybe are, Julian, but we in our home we've got everything from our fridge, our oven, the washing machine, you know, the fish tank, television. They're all already connected. So with minimal voice or set triggers, it already interacts. You know, we did our Sunday roast yesterday automatically.
Nice.
It was ready by the time we all got home from a swimming gala yesterday. So it's here, and I think it's now more around, for me, the bits I want to see the wraparound around solar at homes and battery. How do we bring that? And now you're charging your cars, bringing all of that into that fold to create this old, you know, almost self-sufficient, self-sustaining, interactive home. That is the bit I find probably a few years away.
And then probably that circular economy thing around the obviously, I suppose, technology provider or people who create things are there. They are, to a certain extent, disposable things now, aren't they? I think is where they can get to a position of being more recyclable and a bit more circular economy. I think would be is that next step. So
big time.
That's brilliant. So, Sax, would you like to tell our listeners more about some of the exciting projects you're working on? So there is one I know you want to talk about, which is the Dame Rabina Shah Foundation. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that and anything else you're working on, that'd be great.
Yeah. So you know, I think you will hopefully have heard through this podcast my absolute resounding passion to reduce disadvantage for the most in need and enable social mobility. So the Dame Rabina Shah Foundation, led by Dame Rabina Shah herself as the chair and me as CEO, which have been entrusted by the trustees, which is brilliant, to go and really authentically go and our big motto is open doors. Make sure we can open doors, knock down doors for the most disadvantaged. It's the only gap that appears to be still widening. Not appears, it is widening in society. So we're focused around well-being, mental health, technology, skills, character building. We're working with the likes of RLB and great strategic partners to create these real-world experiences. Because I think we touched briefly downstairs, Julian, around sort of exams and academia. And I think some of it were alluding to this idea of actually how real world are the skills that take place in academia to the job roles that you and I both know in the workplace. And we need to connect that, because it does one or two things. It makes the education valuable and worthwhile. You can see where it's leading to. And it creates spark and curiosity. You know, I'm doing some great work with RLB and many other great partners going into some of the local schools. The idea of somebody seeing a quantity surveyor as a profession and a role that they may have never had that encounter before, and going into their wonderful offices on a work safari, you instantly create a spark of curiosity and growth and opportunity. And then a connected education when you're back in the classroom delivering some of that curriculum around construction or business or digital. So there's a big piece around that, working with many of my great partners and friends. And I want to unlock confidence. It's intangible, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you asked me before where, I think again you touched on where did my confidence come from? Fortunately, great parents, great role models. Not everybody has that, Julian. So we need to find a way to instill a sense of belief, a sense of confidence that they can grow, they can be change makers and future makers and open doors. But that all takes energy and time, and I see it as my critical role with my great friends and partners to get in there and go and do that. So, and again, just right at the heart of that, positive values, principles, morals, and belief.
Yeah, and more part running.
I'm more a lot of part running. If you can join me on my next one, Julian.
Oh, blimey, it depends how fast you go.
There's also a few other bits. Honestly, I'm up to obviously join. I've left my role as director of Disruptive Learning at UN92, University Academy 92, and I'm incredibly honoured and to have joined their board as an non-exec director.
Brilliant.
Which is fantastic, and I start that pretty much right straight away.
Yeah.
So I still get to strategically drive this idea of disruption, a real focus on things like apprenticeships as disruptive education, and what does digital education look like, whether it be AI, the cloud, data, social media, you name it. So still really get to drive that, which is fantastic.
That's good,
I've still got a few other bits going on as well. Shall I keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
A bit of a plug here, isn't it? But I've also, just as you do, I've launched a digital business called Optic Data.
Yeah.
Founder and CEO of Optic Data, which is all around how do we use educational data, which is there's such disparity of educational data in schools from a variety of different platforms. So how can I bring all of that together and allow schools to harness that in one place?
Yeah.
Use AI, natural language processing, to query that data, to understand their school and young person's data, pupil data, in a way that's meaningful. In terms of tracking progress, comparing to national data, providing strategies to mitigate and improve that, and ultimately as well narrow that social economic gap.
Yeah.
And look at trends and how can we narrow that gap and again implement more strategies to enable the most in need to be the most successful.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's on the go as well. Yeah.
Well, you're like a busy man then. You haven't got time for park runs actually now. That's the problem. So as a thank you, we'd like to make a donation to a charity you support. So do you want to tell us who that charity is and why you've chosen them as well?
Well, I think you know where I'm going to be leading with this, don't you? I think everybody in the podcast, why not the Dame Rabina Shah Foundation as we're just launching. It's a foundation which is personal to me and the trustees and founders because it's our journey. It's authentic. We've lived it, and we feel that we can go in there and make a difference for our authentic journey. There you go. Get my words out.
So thanks so much for your time today, Sax. It has been. We didn't touch on all the questions. I think I like part of these. I've found with these conversations is you can end up talking again. So definitely once you've a bit more settled, let's see how the new business goes stuff, and then get you back on the podcast and we'll talk about some of that stuff as well. Maybe cover some of the other. We'll see how far you get with your. See if you can get to 500 park runs by then. Yeah, you never know.
Hopefully, know. Yeah. Well, no. Can I just say a huge thank you to yourself, Julian, the team, for inviting me on here today, and. It's great to see the innovative work that you and the team are doing to try and bring people together to continue that curiosity, and only through these conversations can we continue to make a difference to people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah, let's hope so. So and that's one of the reasons we like doing them is that it's about getting different perspectives, and actually some of the conversations we've had today, you'll take away something go, oh, that sounded interesting. I'll be a bit more curious about that, and the same for me, and hopefully for our listeners and viewers as well. So brilliant. Thanks for that. Thanks for your time today. So to our listeners, hope you enjoyed today's curious conversation. Stay curious, stay creative, and see you on the next version.
Curious Conversations.